The invisible tax, why it's expensive to be broke. Picture this. You're driving to work in your slightly too old sedan, humming along to the radio when, click, that check engine light pops on. It's glowing like an angry orange eye. Your heart doesn't just sink, it hits the floorboards. You know, logically, that fixing this sensor today might cost you $300. But you check your bank app, and you've got exactly $42 to your name until next Friday. So, you do what millions of Americans do every day. You perform the broke person prayer. You turn up the volume on the radio to drown out that weird rattling sound coming from under the hood. You pretend you didn't see it. Maybe it'll just go away, you tell yourself. Spoilers, it never goes away. 2 months go by. Because you didn't have that $300. That tiny sensor caused your entire transmission to melt into a puddle of expensive slag. Now, you're stranded on the shoulder of the I-95. You need a $200 tow, a $2,000 repair, and you're losing $300 in wages because you're missing your shifts. That $300 problem just evolved into a $2,500 catastrophe. This isn't bad luck, guys. This is a mathematical cage. Welcome to the history of value. Today, we're talking about why being broke is the most expensive hobby you can have. Most financial gurus love to tell you that wealth is about discipline and poverty is about bad habits. They tell you to cancel your $15 Netflix sub as if that's the barrier between you and a private island. But that advice ignores a brutal economic law known as the Boots Theory. Imagine two guys. One has $50, the other has $10. The $50 guy buys high-quality, waterproof leather boots. They last him 10 years. The guy with $10 can only afford cheap, cardboard-soled boots that fall apart in a single winter. So, every year, he has to spend another $10. After a decade, the poor guy has spent $100 on boots and still has wet feet. The rich guy spent $50 once and stayed dry. That $50 difference is what we call the poverty premium. In the U.S. economy, you are literally forced to pay a surcharge for the crime of not having capital. You aren't just paying for the product, you're paying for your inability to buy the better version. It's a tax on your lack of options. Let's look at your grocery list. If you have $60 to lock up in inventory, you go to Costco. You buy the 40 H-roll pack of toilet paper. Your cost per roll, like 40 cents. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have $60 for paper. You go to the corner bodega and buy a 4-pack for $7. You are paying 300% more for the exact same product because you couldn't afford the entry fee of bulk buying. But wait, it gets darker. Let's talk about the banking system, the place where they're supposed to keep your money safe. If you have $10,000 in your account, the bank treats you like royalty. No fees, free checks, maybe even a tiny bit of interest. But if you're struggling and your balance hits $5, a forgotten $15 subscription hits, you're now negative $10. Does the bank help? No, they hit you with a $35 overdraft fee. Think about the math. You effectively borrowed $10 for a day and it cost you $35. That is an APRA of over 12,000%. If a guy in a trench coat offered you that deal in an alley, you'd call the cops. When a bank does it, it's standard procedure. Last year, U.S. banks made billions off these fees, almost exclusively from people with less than $1,000 in their accounts. Jerry, now let's talk about the American dream car. In 90% of the U.S., if you don't have a car, you don't have a paycheck. A wealthy person buys a 3-year-old Toyota for $20,000 with a 5% loan. They pay it off, and the car runs for another decade. Total cost, low. But if you have bad credit, which is often just code for I was poor once, you end up at a buy here, pay here lot. They sell you a $4,000 clunker for $9,000 at a 26% interest rate. By the time you're done, you've paid $16,000 for a car that's currently sitting in a junkyard. You aren't just paying for the car, you're paying a risk tax. Society deems you risky because you don't have money, so it charges you more money, which ensures you never have money. The logic is a circle of hell. And then there's housing. Renting is the ultimate Boots theory example. You pay 100% interest to your landlord. You build zero equity. You're paying his mortgage plus his profit margin. To buy a house, you need $20,000 for a down payment. If you're paying $2,200 in rent, you can't save. So you stay trapped paying $2,200 for an apartment that would cost $1,400 if you owned it. You are literally renting your existence because you can't afford to buy your future. So how do we break the cage? The answer isn't investing in crypto or buying a lottery ticket. It's much less sexy. It's called plugging the leaks. The best return on investment you will ever get isn't the stock market, it's escaping the broke tax. If you have a credit card at 25% interest, paying it off is a guaranteed 25% return. Wall Street can't give you that. You need to build a buffer. I call it the anti-broke shield. That first $1,000 in a savings account is the most powerful money you will ever own. It turns a crisis into an inconvenience. With $1,000, you can buy the bulk goods. You can fix the car today for $300 instead of tomorrow for $2,500. Having money saved actually makes your life cheaper. You have to stop looking at monthly payments. That's what they want you to see. The car dealer, the rent-to-own store, they want you to think in per month. You need to start thinking in total cost of ownership. Every time you buy a disposable version of a tool or a service, you are volunteering to pay the broke tax. Get angry at the math. Use that frustration to fuel your savings. Let's recap. Being poor is a mathematical penalty. It lowers your functional IQ by 13 points due to stress. It steals your time at the laundromat and the bus stop. It charges you more for toilet paper and cars. But once you see the invisible tax, it loses its power over you. Audit your life this week. Where are you bleeding money just because you don't have money? Is it an overdraft fee? Is it cheap shoes that hurt your feet? Identify one leak and plug it ruthlessly. Sell the old stuff. Take the extra shift. Do whatever it takes to build that $1,000 buffer. You aren't just saving cash. You're buying your way out of the trap, one pair of good boots at a time. This is the story of values. We're not in the get-rich-quick business, we're in the get-free-for-a-day, but the right way. If this video touched you, please do me a favor. Share it with a friend who's tired of being stuck in a cycle. And subscribe to the channel to join us. What is the most ridiculous broke tax you've ever had to pay? Was it a bank fee? A predatory loan? Let's put these numbers in the comments and expose the system. I'll be reading and replying to the most insane stories. See you in the next one.